You can hear how it goes back like that.
So we're live on Facebook right now, though.
Oh, right now.
Wow, right?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, are we?
All right,
Yay!
Cool. Okay.
Hey, this is my first podcast, by the way.
Oh, really?
And I'm here with the guys,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sweat Equity, and Michelle.
You can hijack host this.
Yeah,
Michelle
it's
Mastrorini. No, it's
I want to
okay.
replace him?
Yeah.
It's okay. No, seriously.
I don't want to do stuff.
I'm very, very excited. I've never been on a podcast, so.
It's
This is,
there's only 200,000 of them, so it's rarefied
Really?
air.
Wow. Only 200,000?
Only 200,000.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Are we good?
Could be more in
Am I
about a
good
year
here?
from now, but yeah. So we go. You'll have cameras there. They you went over all this stuff. Like,
No,
Okay.
not really.
Will you introduce yourselves to my Facebook
hey,
audience?
I'm Ross Smith. It's Eric Reginger with Sweat Equity, and behind the directing that Facebook Live is John Paul of Tampaniac
Awesome sauce.
Pictures. I was gonna say Productions.
All right, should we
Can
start
they
our
hear us?
side of the show?
Yeah.
They can hear us, but I think they're upside down, so we're turning them. I'm just wanting.
Making those people sick.
I know. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
You know this.
Are we really upside down? Do we need to
Well,
start again?
I just noticed. Can we? You know what? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's start
When
again.
it's live, it don't matter.
We'll probably have to do it again because Michelle and I did that. No, it wasn't Michelle. It was actually Sammy, my little one, who started it like opposite. Are we? We're good now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and so the whole thing was kind of crisscrossed.
All right.
You know, it doesn't have to be professional.
No.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
Hit our intro music.
Good. Yeah. Natter days are for the boys. A little strawberry lemonade.
Open
Natty
it.
Light.
Open
I'm
it.
gonna drink it on air,
You're
man.
actually not gonna open it and drink
Wow.
Oh, it's so good.
it. Oh, it's gonna be gross.
Ugh. It tastes like battery acid.
I want
So
that
it's
one.
lemonade
It's actually not
Lemonade
that bad.
Strawberry lemonade.
with beer.
Ew, that's so gross.
It's kind of good. In a white trashy kind of way. I just had some Fritos I pounded right before we got on here, so my blood sugar.
It tastes like Zima or something. Back in the
I
days,
know,
there was something
great.
it tastes like.
I
Oh my
mean,
gosh.
gross.
Yeah, it's so
Ew.
gross.
You know, the trick to Zima, because it had a bite, is you got to put a Jolly Rancher in it, because, it's right up there with Scotch.
I know, you got all the secrets for Zima.
That reminds me of a Modern Family episode. Do you guys
Get
remember
in
when?
get in the mic
That
there.
reminds me of a Modern Family
Uh-huh.
episode where Phil was just talking about Zima. It brought back some memories.
Hey, Phil's the man. That voice you hear is Serena Fizzon.
Oh,
Did I get
very,
it?
very close.
Did I get it? Did I not get it?
I
God
think
damn
very.
it.
He try it one more time. No, I'm just kidding.
You asked her before.
I know.
You're like, I'm gonna mess it up.
I know because it's in. I try to write it phonetically, and then I put fizz for some reason instead. I fucked it up.
It's
I know, no,
spelled
you know.
phonetically, is it
Well,
not?
it's funny because a lot of times you see the name, when we were talking about CNN and headline news and everything,
Nice.
but you don't
Way to weave that
say
in
it.
there. Yeah.
Do you like that?
You weaved your credits in there real
Pro.
smooth.
That's right.
She's a pro.
And me bringing it up didn't make that smooth.
But no, you were very close. Fazan.
Fazan.
Yes, Fazan.
Fazan. So that Serena SARINAFAZAN.com is where to go to find your latest blog post. Michelle is your business partner.
Mhm.
I'm not even gonna try her last name now.
Moscardini. She's got a great name.
Moscardini.
Yeah. That sounds like a
Mickey Mouse Clubhouse song is what you're gonna say?
Nope.
Sorry, me neither.
Arabic magician.
Better.
It was pretty good. Pretty good.
I actually thought it was on Mickey Mouse, but
You were on CNN, 3 Sundays ago on a show called Vengeance Killer Lovers.
Vengeance Killer Lovers. Yeah, so it's a new show on Headline News, and it's produced by CNN and Sky News. Actually, I should say it's produced by Jupiter Entertainment, that CNN and Sky News put together, and it's the first time they've worked together, so it's a show that's being shown internationally,
Uh-huh.
which is kind of cool,
Yeah. Why do women...
he's gonna
I
ask
know
why
what you're
women
gonna-
are obsessed with
Yes.
shows that kill their husbands.
Yeah. We're like
I
an
want to
old
know
gay
too.
couple. Like, we know, we spit into each other's thoughts.
Sandwiches.
Oh,
The-
God damn it.
My wife has a serious problem with the serial killer shows, even her podcast that she listens to. It's like everything is just
Small town murders.
husbands getting killed.
I know,
Like
why
she's
is
looking for
that?
tips.
Yeah. My husband teases me about watching Lifetime. All the
Yeah,
Lifetime movies.
yeah, Lifetime. That's
like-
where it all started.
That's like the soft core stuff,
Right.
like the Ted Bundy documentaries where they're going into detail, the making a murderer. There's a lot of Netflix. I always like to see what Netflix is pushing. They're pushing puppies right now
Mm-hmm.
because we're going two different directions as intelligence. We're getting simultaneously smarter and a lot dumber as society. Like we're like, oh, we can do this most advanced AI stuff at the same time we like puppies. Sweet, a documentary about dogs, fluffy dogs.
I haven't seen it. It didn't come up on my feed.
I mean, it
I
should
guess
be
I'm-
on everybody's feet, right, guys?
It filters out stupid stuff.
That and then the murder stuff is interesting.
I don't mean to laugh. No, I know. I mean, it's.
Bad time.
I'm sorry. Bad time. Sorry.
No.
But
I'm
I
not.
want to hear about it.
This
Watch for it.
what happens though is we have this fallacy of fear. I think because of these kind of things, you've I don't want to say seasoned because that sounds. I would just want to say you're experienced journalist. I don't know how to phrase
No,
this.
I know,
without
I really
making
know,
it
I
be
think-
like some ageism thing, but you've been a journalist for a long time, and I feel like it's now people are really starting to get that it's like clicks, it's views, it's the more abrasive the topic could be, the better. The more the more like the crazier it is, the better. It doesn't matter what the actual news is anymore.
Isn't it sad though? I mean.
Have y'all ever seen Network? The movie
Yes.
Network? We're in
Yeah,
that right
yeah.
now. It's kind of about that, where the main anchor is like, this isn't news. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take it anymore. You never
Is
seen
that from that?
Yeah,
Oh.
But I really do
I
have
watched it the other
a
night.
question on that because
Okay.
a lot of times, whether I'm at my local coffee shop at Buddy Brew or Blind Tiger or
Uh-huh.
or Starbucks or whatever, a lot of people will come up to me and say, "Why don't you guys report happy news?" So
Like you dictate all of it too.
Yeah,
like
no,
you
and
were
I-
anchoring.
yeah, no, right. I hear that a lot,
Yeah.
but then we do research, and research shows that people want to hear about crime as well. So I don't know. I've always been curious about that because I'll get these comments from the public, but then we'll get this research back. What do you
Right.
guys think? I mean, what do you guys think?
I think it's a pussification of America sort of thing, where it's like we don't get challenged as much as maybe humans in general are supposed to be. We don't have the like saber-toothed tiger about to kill us, so we need these little things that kind of get us like, ooh, that feeling, and it's a release for that sort of thing. I think.
Yeah, we have it too good, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And when you have it too good, that's why you start going to boxing classes, and that's why you
Right.
do all these extreme sports, and like you're doing Tough Mudders and all these things that because you need to.
Ice baths. I mean,
Right.
that's why I do it.
Yeah,
It's it's a challenge. I don't want to do it, but I know I'll feel a lot better afterwards.
I jumped in my cold ass pool last night.
Oh, yeah, did
10
an
p.m.
update?
I did.
No cops showed up yet?
No. I did it with my banana hammock on this time.
Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
leave it on.
Mhm.
That's fine.
Yeah, I got a couple whistles, but I don't know, man or women. It was just, who knows? I'm gender fluid now, so. But I'm saying like the fallacy of fear thing. I remember arguing with a friend of mine. We're now friends. We were. This is the first time I hung out with her, and we were getting to know each other for. It was like a kind of a business one-on-one kind of thing. How can I help you? You can help our company, Tokubaga, and she brought up that like I don't let my kids kind of go in the yard, and I was like, well, that's silly. And I was like, she's like, no, I'm scared of scared. She's mentioned all these things, and I go, we're safer. We're way safer. Like kidnapping is not as prevalent as we think it is.
Exactly.
If you look at the statistics, it's fucking crazy. It's like we create these emotional ties to something that isn't there. Not saying that you can just let any guy with a crusty van, talk to your kids or any of that, but I'm saying it's not. We should focus on a lot of other things that are boring and pragmatic over, hand wringing, which doesn't do anything either, too.
Yeah. Well, as parents, it's not so much that you're so scared of what's going to happen if you let your kids go outside. It's more like, I have a choice: let them play inside,
Or let them play
or let them
outside.
go outside. It's like, okay, well, that that danger is taken away if they stay inside. So am I being a good parent by covering my bases and letting them stay inside? And it's not so much that like it's that danger that you're afraid of. It's just like, well, okay,
It's
if I
like you're
do
a bad
this,
parent.
if I do this, I'm not going to be a bad parent in that.
You just don't want to get in trouble.
Right,
With the wife,
exactly.
yeah. That's most of it. That's fear of the wife.
But did I not say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but don't you guys think like the world though really has changed? Like I remember growing up in Seattle, we would come home from school and my parents wouldn't see us until it was dark.
Right.
I don't think we have to be realistic, and I get like what you were
I
talking
don't
about
think
with
that
your
much
friend.
has changed though. I mean, like I don't know. I'm sorry.
No,
Go
no,
ahead,
no,
go
no,
ahead.
go ahead. No,
I don't think
no.
that much has changed, honestly. I just think we've, as adults in society, we have way more influential kind of media coming at us all the time.
So do you think we're like instilling the fear?
Yeah, I think
Got
there's
it.
a fallacy of fear index. I'll look it up in a second, but there's studies about, oh, you think you're gonna get. Now look, I'm coming from a white dude perspective.
And you have two little babies that are just little babies right now. Do you like
Well,
wait till they start growing up?
I
you know?
understand the bias I have. Like, I forget what it's like, because I have two older sisters that I do feel like I had a better understanding of how a lot of, the female side of things point of view a lot of the time, because they would tell me how life is a lot of the time growing up. But I forget, oh yeah, you need to put your keys in your hand sometimes when you're in a parking garage if you're by yourself. Just in case, because you might feel some creepy guy around you. It could be no one, but sometimes you have to protect yourself, and like you're always kind of worrying about that kind of stuff. Like it feels very taxing for y'all, maybe sometimes, right?
Yes, I mean I would say.
Well, I know I was trained to. I mean, I went through some self-defense classes and so forth.
Nice.
Just private classes, and I was taught like if you're in a parking lot, you don't walk between cars where there's a van there, where
Right.
they could open up the door, pull you in, or even a pickup truck. Somebody could be hiding in the bed of the truck,
Whoa.
stuff like that. And we went through things. Okay, if this happened, what would you do? Like you're sitting on the toilet using the bathroom and somebody breaks in, what do? Your first instinct is pull up your pants, but that's not what you should do.
What should you do?
Well, like a great weapon is the back of the toilet bowl.
Oh,
Hit 'em with
Holy
that.
cow.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you're in the shower, obviously usually you don't take a shower with clothes on, so you're in there naked and somebody comes in, you should actually pull them in because they probably have clothes on. Pull them in, that's going to weigh them down, and then you run and get the heck out of Dodge.
Right. Or
Wow.
you cover them with you're
Right.
using all the items around
Like
you.
Jason Bourne.
Yep.
Well, I thought like, oh, razor in there, but a little razor,
And how
isn't
you
going to
gonna-
do anything.
To get to it, you probably slip trying to like
Right.
grab it. You
Yeah,
know.
right.
Yeah. So you use the curtain. I heard is something.
Oh.
That would be a good idea.
So you
too,
wrap
yeah.
them in a curtain like a carpet almost. I mean, I took a lady's self-defense class too. Just to
You,
get
they're
my
like,
venom
pull them in,
inside.
they'll
Hey,
be
you know
grossed
what?
out.
I mean, it certainly does not hurt, right? Like if you have the time
No,
to take a
exactly.
class like that,
You're
I
covering your
guess
bases.
you're covering your bases.
Oh, I wrote down the other day. I was like, what would a good dad do? This is what I asked myself, and then I have to go do it. I was like, I need to go take a CPR class because I haven't done that in a while. And I was like, this is out of my nature to go out of my way on a Saturday to go do it. But I go, this is what a good dad would do, so I should go do that.
You should have told me. We just had somebody come by the office.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Once a year. You can do it next year.
Well, I need to do like super dad stuff, first aid training, all that.
What do you think they were doing?
I don't know, man.
Makeup? I mean, they
Oh,
had to
were
learn
they?
how to save somebody's
Makeup?
life. It's
What kind
CPR
of
first
makeup?
aid. Mostly blood colored, I guess. I don't know.
Did you do the defibrillator? That's my favorite.
No.
Oh.
They don't have one at the office. Why would you learn?
So,
Is it toy?
all right. So back to Vengeance. How was that received? Did you get what was it? That was like 3 Sundays ago, right?
Right, like so far there have been 3 that have run
Oh,
so
it's a
far.
series.
Yeah, it's a series. And it's done really well. It's gotten a lot of promotion.
Mm-hmm.
And they keep on running the episodes so far. So I was initially, they reached out to me because I covered a case in Tampa, got a lot of exclusive interviews with all the people involved. It was a love triangle. It was 2 teenagers after one guy. And sadly, one teenager killed the other teenager. So one is in prison,
Mm-hmm.
Rachel Wade. Sarah Ludeman is the girl that died. She was an only child. It's just a very sad story. But I've been interviewed for that story on Oxygen, for Snapped, for all these shows. But they kicked off the show with that story. Well, that wasn't the show that they kicked it off with, but that was one of the shows. And then there's so many crime cases that are so unique here in Florida. I don't know why Florida holds that title. You know what I mean?
I've got theories.
Crazy, right?
Well, I thought it was
Crazy.
just we hear about them more because of the sunshine laws, that we can find out the details of all these crimes.
That's true
and stuff.
too. That's true too.
Florida needs a publicist, is my thing. Florida Man's not going to cut it. Florida Man Twitter account that all it does is a blotter of like, guess who hooked up with a dog the other day.
I mean, there's so many crazy stories out of Florida. But now I've done a few shows for cases that didn't happen here, and they just asked me to weigh in, just because I have been an anchor for a long time, a journalist for a long time, and just given my perspective on some of the criminal cases.
How do you deal with you? I went through. We first met like a little bit ago, and I went through your profile and stuff, and I was like, man, some of these stories are really heavy.
Yes.
How do you deal with that as far as not getting? You got to be kind of like an ER doctor, I assume. Like you can't get too attached to it. You kind of have to just report it. Is that something that kind of? Do you have a? What's the word I'm looking for? Does it weigh on you, I guess?
Yes. No, that's a really good question, and I can't speak for other journalists, but I can honestly say it really weighs on me. Like I cannot cover the story, then go home, not think about it. I mean, truthfully, I've lost sleep. I can't. The story that probably affected me the most, well, there's two that have really, really impacted me, and I think about them every day still. Julie Schedeker, the one that killed her kids. It took me 4 years to talk to her. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
She's in the straight jacket and she's walking. And then do you guys remember the Bloomingdale rape victim?
No.
She was only 18 years old and she was dropping off a library book.
No.
Oh my gosh, wow. Though, I mean, I think about those cases and I think about those people every single day. I mean, I've interviewed so many people who have lost a family member, a loved one, and it really does remind you that we have to always cherish every single day. I mean, I don't mean to preach about that, but life
Go ahead.
life can change in a second, and just like in a heartbeat, it can change. So
when you're bringing up, I just caught a story recently. I guess someone's mother had been dead for a week or two and floated down the river here, and they were doing a story from the daughter, and I was thinking about that. If you're the reporter and you're kind of bringing all this stuff back up, they just kind of mourned and got over it, and now they found the body 2 or 3 weeks later, and it's like, why? First off, why was the daughter doing the story? I don't know why you'd want to, I guess, but
a lot of people ask me.
what's
a lot of people
up
ask me
with
that
that?
question. Okay, so I
are
think
we all still like kind of craving a little bit of like, we do this, but we know we have ego behind this, and we get a lot of benefits out of it, but we know it's, we want to do stuff in the comedy world, and this is kind of adjacent to that of sorts, but like, I would say I don't know if it's that, and that's my maybe bad knee-jerk reaction when I see something like that they're just going for a little bit of TV time, but maybe I'm glomming onto it.
No, I get that question a lot, and I think there are several reasons. I think some people go on TV, one, because we all deal with sadness, tragedy in different ways. So I think some people go on TV because it's their way to cope. Sometimes I think people are brave enough to go on because they don't want this to happen to anybody else. And whenever I've approached a tragic story like that, that has always been what I've talked about. Like, if you go on, I know how hard it can be to go on, but can we talk about how we can prevent this from happening again? Or is there a positive message that could come out of such gloom and sadness? And I can't speak for everyone, but it's true. Some people, though, I know will never speak about it, and
I feel like it would bring more attention. It would just be more. I look at it as like life overhead. Like,
Well, think about, okay, if she's interviewing somebody that's had something horrible that's probably never happened to them in that capacity in their life.
right.
They're searching for anything that'll make them feel better. Maybe if I go on TV,
Yeah.
that'll make
Right.
me feel
Yeah.
a little
I
bit.
get that.
And they might regret it afterwards. But lots of times it's hard to judge people coming out of these things just because we don't know. We don't know how their life was leading up to that. It's just tough to figure out what they're thinking.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask, because you've got reps with this kind of thing, and so it's one of those things I've always been curious about, and it came up the other day, and I knew you were going to come on here soon, so I was kind of thinking about that. I was like, oh, maybe we can work that into this, but
No, I am really, I have to say I'm so humbled because a lot of people have given me a lot of interviews that they have not given to other reporters or journalists. And some of them, sometimes it's taken years to talk to them. And going back to your first question, it's because sometimes I cannot forget their story. Like, we will do the initial story, then the public, not that they mean to forget, but right, it fades away.
mhm.
But sometimes I think there's such a powerful message with certain people speaking out. I mean, we all have a story, right? But
That's what we say with anybody who has a business that comes in here. Everybody's got a story, so there's always something to talk about in that way, because everybody's gone a little crazy to an entrepreneurial route. Where you're at in your career now, you're in this gig economy, and there's that aspect of it that is fun, but also frightening at the same time.
yes,
But I think through your site, we were talking about what's the best way to go about it, and I was trying to give any nerd advice. I think what you're doing is good. You're putting good content out there. You're doing these things to I think.
we would love some advice. Tell me, give
Well,
Michelle and I advice, guys.
That's what the
Guys,
show's
help
about.
us.
How
Help
about
us.
this before we get into that? How about if there's a younger person that wants to get into journalism now? What would you tell them?
Okay, I would tell them for sure, if they can, try to intern. They need to intern. I do feel that, years and years ago, Peter Jennings, who's someone that I sadly, he has passed away, but I looked up to him forever, and he never even graduated from high school. I think right now, though, you do need to go to college. You need to graduate from college, but while you're in college, if you can do it, even if it means a summer internship or whatever you need to do, you need to intern, because that's the only way to get into a newsroom. You need to start, and nowadays, you shoot the video on your phone. You can, there's so many ways to communicate. Find a mentor in the market, the television market that you're in. I'm blessed to have so many reach out to me. Reach out to that person, and more than likely that anchor or reporter will get back to you. Seek advice from them.
Yep.
And don't give up. Television is a hard industry to get into, and I was told once, it may not necessarily be the best people, and I hate saying it that way, but it's the people who persevere that get in. You become
Yeah.
very good, but you can't give up, and you can't be motivated by money,
Right.
like
Right.
for your first job. You honestly can't. I made $18,000 a year, and I was a morning anchor.
Humble brag.
So,
Yeah. Wow.
so,
Yeah, and that is a tough gig, because like radio DJs, you guys back in the day a little bit, like you guys had to go, you'd anchor here and then you'd hop to another station.
Yep.
I have a couple friends that are doing it. I'm like, oh, she's in Little Rock, Arkansas now, I guess, and just kind of making her way up. But man, that is a gig that the next week you can get picked up to go somewhere else, right?
Absolutely. So the interesting thing about television is you might start with certain, I'll phrase it like this, with certain professions, you might, if you're an accountant, for instance, and you're working at the firm, the following year you might get a 5% raise or whatever the raise, the bracket is.
Mm-hmm.
But in television, you start in a smaller market. The next market you could jump to could be twice as much as you made. And the third market could be, 3 times as much. I do want to tell kids out there, though, the days of anchors making a lot, those $1 million numbers, unless you're on national TV, those days are no longer, and that is because of social media. Until television can catch up to social media, news anchors and reporters aren't going to pay.
That's funny.
Aren't going to be paid as much.
That's funny because it would be the other way around
Yes.
for the last 10 years. But yeah, I agree.
Do you see a scenario where the local news just goes away and people kind of go online, they go to their news guy that they like, sort of thing?
I think that's a huge fear. I really think that's a huge fear within the television industry. And every station in the market is trying to find out how to capitalize on social media, because if you take a look at it, everybody is getting their news, or most people are getting their news on their iPhones. Well, I shouldn't say iPhone, their tablets, their phones,
Yeah,
whether it's
Not
whether
through
it's
TV.
Android, not through TV, not through traditional TV like they used to. So that's why you find a lot of newscasts being live streamed.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think television needs to catch up.
For sure.
Well, I know I'd get a lot of my news just from Facebook and Twitter, the articles.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with that.
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially even the local news. Like
Yeah.
With
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like
now the
the
other,
news, sure.
yeah, there's a lot of other.
Yeah, you can
Some of them are
curate an
fake.
echo chamber of people. You can curate that echo chamber of wanting to get the news that you want to see all the time. I always try to make sure I get different perspectives, even if I don't agree with them. I want to see what it's like.
Right.
I think that's a big mistake a lot of people do. They'll block people that they don't like their opinion. Maybe they're a gun nut, and they don't like people that are anti-gun, so they'll just block them or hide them in their feed. And it's like, I don't think that's smart at all. I think it's always important to see the other side, even if your motive is to take them down. I mean, one way or the other, like, you shouldn't be that way, but as far as your motive, but if you would want to know what the other side's thinking.
Yeah, you shouldn't just like dig your heels in all the time and be like, that's what I believe. I don't have anything.
Right.
I mean, I have a few things, but there's very little that I'm like, that's for sure how it is that don't argue with me, like, I don't know, I'm not a genius, I can, I'm here to learn.
Yeah, there's a certain hubris when you get really into one topic and you're like, what's this really about, Billy? Like, you used to be cool, man.
Right,
Why
yeah.
are you so MAGA centric? What's going on?
Yeah.
Everybody in your family's a huge Democrat. Okay, cool. I get it now. Like, you're just fighting your
The
family.
number one thing I tell my kids, I'm like, if somebody tells you that they know everything and that they've got it all figured out, grown-ups, I don't care if they're 85 years old, they're not telling you the truth. Nobody knows what they're talking about. Like, it doesn't work good with the teachers and stuff, but,
Unless it's like a
They'll
really
be fine.
cool guy who's like, let me break it down for you.
I mean, I know what I'm talking about, kids. But
Hold on, I got a dice game in the house. Follow me.
I know everything.
Right.
Everybody else does not. Okay.
Yeah, we say we're conduits. On this show, we're conduits of smarter people saying good advice. We're just passing it along. We're just vessels for that. As far as kind of creating a brand and, getting out in that entrepreneurial atmosphere, I'll just kind of take from what we talked about a couple weeks back.
Please, yes.
You're doing good work because you are the rare person that can be on air and write, like, eloquently. So
Thank you.
I read some of the blog posts. Like this podcast, it's about consistency of good quality that a lot of the time. And it doesn't feel like you're going to get any return on it. That's the scary part, right? We did this in a vacuum for a while. And then we just kept hammering away, trying to get better guests, try to get, like yourself,
Thank you.
try to get like, just keep improving, keep getting better. Continuous improvement's a big thing, and
Sweat equity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We should
do it
have
for
named
free.
it Millionaires Overnight, is what we should have named it.
$1,000
Really regretting this name of this podcast.
$1,000 millionaires. But I mean, there is a thing of like business rhetoric of always continuous improvement. You should always kind of step back once a week and go, where can we get better? How can I cultivate a better audience? How does that work? The beauty of it is the information's kind of out there. And so that's why if we didn't have YouTube, I couldn't do a lot of the digital agency things, the services we provide. Eric and I kind of taught ourselves in a way through that. I don't know if that's technically an autodidact, but
Yeah, that's what that means.
Well, this means teach yourself, but I didn't know if you had to teach it out whole cloth kind of thing. You know,
No idea.
like figure it out on your own without any help.
Oh.
I don't know.
Who cares?
It doesn't matter. But without YouTube, there's some nerd out there. I'm a nerd, but I'm saying there's some nerd out there that's made somehow to do this thing. So we're trying to figure out before we were on the mic, how do we stream live to a bunch of platforms? And I was like, I don't know that, but I bet we can figure it out. If you know, Googling patience is kind of the biggest thing I talk about a lot. A lot of
Phrasing
people-
on Google, knowing what things are called, not easy.
Right. Oh yeah. I get really high and I can't. I'm like, I don't know.
I
what
love
this
his
word
honesty
is.
here.
Oh yeah. This is
This is a
free
free drug
speech.
zone.
Yeah. This is a
Free
drug-free zone. You're free to do whatever drugs you want. There's a bevy of things in this hallway. So I would say keep doing what you're doing. Keep that consistency. Keep doing and do what you're doing already that's working well. That's a big mistake. A lot of consultants come in, a lot of agencies come in. They want to put their stank on something. I go in and I go, what are y'all doing well? 'Cause-
Wow.
Nice.
We're in Ybor City, by the way, guys.
Yeah. I don't know if that even got picked up in the mics, but that was.
It usually doesn't, surprisingly.
That was.
I don't know.
It did. I'm getting a thumbs up from behind the glass.
Sounded bad. Thumbs up.
But I would say Facebook Live, if that's going well for you and it's engaging, just keep trying to tweak it. How can I make it better? More engaging. Ask questions. So people, the more divisive or divisive the question, the better the engagement. But beware, you're gonna have some people get
You're
really
gonna get
into it.
the, both sides.
And if I'm trying not to cuss because this is going on yours right now, good luck on that. You can on your page though there's a profanity filter, so anybody that uses it, you go to the settings, you can do that. Yeah, there's a lot of like little things with Facebook that you can tweak to filter out that riffraff.
Did we cut, Serena? Do we share what you're doing with your website? Is the main focus of what you're doing right now?
So I'm involved in multiple projects, and I love TV. I love broadcast journalism. And when I say I love TV, I guess you love social media now too. You know, so yes. So we're trying to highlight the best of the Bay in a lot of my Facebook lives. Also, people have asked me for years to write my life story because I guess people would say it's unique. So doing that.
I didn't even want to open that up because we try to keep it a 33
Yes.
minutes. And it's on your
We
site.
waited 30 minutes to find out about your website.
I would love
plugged
to come back on your show and we could talk about it more. But you know, and I'm humbled. You know, I've been doing news now for 24 years, and I get a lot of questions about beauty, fitness, fashion. It's about that too, you know, because we're on TV or we're on social media. So when women, to me, a passion of mine is building women, especially young girls. So we've been trying to do a lot of that as well and highlighting the good of Tampa. I love this community.
Yeah, and I told you, I think you should do a podcast. When we talk, you definitely have strong opinions and seem driven and ambitious, and you know, in that direction. That's just another thing to add to another quill in your another arrow in your quill kind of thing of all the content you're doing. And I told you can use this studio
Well,
if you want.
thank you. 'Cause
It's not. As you can see, it's not a crazy big production, and it's even though we were scrambling around trying to do stuff beforehand, but that's just how we roll.
We like to fidget.
Yeah, we like to fidget a lot with stuff, but that's just another thing you can do. You can make it like we have it, where we're trying to do 2 episodes a week, or you can do a series kind of thing. Sometimes that's a little bit easier to kind of digest in the beginning. I'm going to do 6 episodes on, you know, here's something specific for young female entrepreneurs. But I will tell you, as on a marketing side, the way I look at it is there's a gap in a lot of female-led podcasts out there that are in kind of the business advice or the just in general advice area. From what I can see, I haven't done the crazy market research. But
And people are asking for more of you.
Yeah.
Oh.
That doesn't always, people they're not knocking down our door to hear that, it's like,
We
we just kind of
push.
started doing it.
Yeah, we push.
It must be awesome.
You're more of a pull in.
No, you guys
We're
are so
asking
sweet
for
to
tips.
say.
We're foisting it on people.
It's more like I'm jealous that people, you don't have the ego,
She's
shame that
put-
we have.
She's got the street cred of doing the professional
Yeah, I
part
know.
forever, for 24 years. So
Yeah, that's
You
what I'm
guys
saying.
are so sweet. No, I so appreciate it.
yeah, keep doing what you're doing, and I'm always ready to give an Asperger's audit of anything because people think I'm just an asshole, but I don't care. My thing,
You're a great guy. You guys
it's
are awesome.
It's aggressive optimism, I like to call it. Like, I want you to get better like a football coach almost. And so sometimes I forget I have resting bitch face when I'm saying this stuff.
I know. We
Yeah.
both got to work on it.
Yeah, we really do.
Wrinkle face.
We get.
Well,
We're
we're about
at-
done.
All right, so why don't you fill? And I didn't even get to the Indian Trailblazer part. We can do a better name, I think.
You think better than Indian Trailblazer?
It doesn't. I'm weird about like.
Should we put a
naming
poll out
stuff.
there? Should we put a poll
Yeah.
out there? Get a poll out
Good luck.
going on, you
Depends
know?
how your fans are because this could get weird. I hope you didn't tag us in the post because we're friends with a lot of comedians and this is going to get definitely. You should put that profanity filter on. But Indian Trailblazer, I like what it stands for. I'm like, there's something.
I think it's because people, Americans at least, hear Indian and they think Native Americans.
Wow.
And then Trailblazer, I'm thinking something out in the Midwest right now.
Oh,
I don't know.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's in itself, I
I'm
think,
thinking
maybe
raccoon hat.
confusing. Yeah.
Oh.
For people.
But I'm thinking like, you can go Pioneer. I'm
Or
thinking
are you
there's
trying,
a
do you
there's
have
a
a bunch
merge.
written down? You
No,
wanna
no, I
share
didn't.
with
I
us?
didn't do any.
Make
But
the
Oh.
crickets go.
no,
Great.
yeah, there's been no drops thus far.
I know.
But I was
Oh,
trying to
appropriate.
think of a mashup, but I couldn't. I failed. I was like Pioneer. Engineer? Is that what? That's as close as I got.
There's another page with Indianeer written on it, isn't there?
No, I didn't write any out. I saved that for the last podcast where we went over brand names.
Hey, listen, I love any type of advice all the time, and I love hearing from people. So I would love for them to find me. You know?
Yeah, that would be that consistent thing where people can ask questions to too. I try to use all of the questions I get throughout the week and just kind of populate them into the show. So it kind of answers, instead of writing a long email to one person, that's what I used to do. Now I'll just answer it on this podcast, and here's a link to the show. And that seems to be a lot easier for my life too. I'm not writing an hour-long email to someone I barely know. Because I do want to genuinely help people, but at the same time, there's a time factor in there, and work-life balance stuff. I guess we're good.
Yeah, well, do you want to wrap it up? We gonna
Yeah.
plug anything?
Yeah. I'm going to spell out the site again.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
I can't read out loud, so
Okay.
it takes a minute. SARINAFAZAN.com. There you can find weekly
Yes. I mean,
blog posts.
I try to post things as much as we can. We both try to post things as much as we can, and then on Facebook right now and on YouTube, Serena Fazan News, and it's suggestions by Serena on YouTube, but we're trying to link the two, so you can always find me. And as I said, Twitter,
Yeah.
Serena Fazan News,
Just
Instagram,
Google.
Serena Fazan News, Google. We love Google.
You got a unique name. Google. it'll populate. Thanks for listening. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook. We're on all these things.
WhatEquityPod.com.
Vimeo if you're horny. LinkedIn if you're nasty.
Laughable. LinkedIn if you're weird.
Mm-hmm. We should.
You guys are awesome, and we're still live.
That's how you do it.
You guys are awesome.
No,
You guys
thanks
are
for- thanks
absolutely
for doing
awesome.
it.